Hello guys, back again with another video. So now into this video I'm going to show you how to perform Windows post exploitation by doing port forwarding and pivoting. So now let's say you are an attacker and we also have our target network. Now inside the target network we have two machines. One may be accessed via our public server and another one inside our internal network. So now this public server or public facing machine, this could be a web server that we could access in case we find vulnerabilities in it, and in case after getting access to this server we can attack another machine that is connected to our internal network. Now this means our public server, it will be having access to both the internal and outside network connections to our network. So now let's start. So now the labs that I'm using, they are for attack defense. So in case you don't have access to these labs, you can just know how to perform this kind of attack. So now here I have victim machine 1 and also victim machine 2. So this is going to be my first machine I'm going to attack, and this is going to be the second machine sitting in our internal network. So I'm going to go on and copy this IP, Ctrl C, then let me open up my terminal. So we can use Nmap to scan up this IP if we want to find out vulnerabilities, and also we can use Nmap or the Nmap module inside our Msfconsole in case we want to save up this data. So I can scan up this in Msfconsole. So before scanning I need to start up my database. So I'm going to say service PostgreSQL, so the spelling SQL start. Now after starting this, we have to also start up our Msfconsole. So I've started up our Msfconsole. Now I'm going to scan my target IP inside Msfconsole. To scan our target IP inside Msfconsole, we are going to use a module called db nmap. So it's going to be db_nmap. Now before I scan, we can also create a workspace where we can save data. So this workspace, I'm going to call it pivot. Press enter. So our workspace is okay. Now I can say db nmap. It is db_nmap. So now here I'm going to do a service scan, and here I provide my IP of the target machine. I press enter. So here the spelling for nmap, I have to write a correct spelling. So nmap, clear this, enter. So here we can give it a couple of minutes. We shall be able to see up the services we have on our system. Now also when you see here, I did not provide a tag of scanning all ports, which is a -p-. You can feel free to add on this tag in case you want to scan fully all the ports onto the system. Now let's say in a case I don't see any active services or ports onto the system, I might be forced to also add on that tag so that I can scan a full machine. So when we come back here to our target machine, we are having this one, the first one, which is the one I'm scanning right now. The second one, when we do ping to our first one, I'll be able to access this, or we shall get reply from our first machine. But if I ping this, since it will be in our internal network, it will bring back the lost packets. So now here I can just come here to file. I'm going to say a new tab. Now here let me first test this. I'm going to put a -C3, then I can paste my IP. With this you see that we are getting a reply, and what is received, it is 3. But when we come to this one, which is inside our internal network, when I scan it, you are going to see that we are not going to get back any reply. which means we don't have access to this yet. So now this is where our port forwarding will come in. So let me give it 3, then I also paste this. You see now here we ain't getting any reply back, and for the packets that will be lost, it will be 100% perfect that the packets are not transferred to our system. You see here, everything is lost. So I can close up this terminal. I think our Nmap is done. We can check for the services. Now when you see here, we have port 80 having our file server, which is 2.3 HFS, and we have 139, it is 445, we have 3389, this is RDP. So now since we saved our information inside our workspace, when I clear this terminal, I can say services. Now here with services, they can list the services that we found with our Nmap. Now I'm going to first test this file server to see if it is present. So I'm going to open up my browser. So now here in the browser, I'm going to paste my IP. Since it was running on port 80, I expect we shall get back a reply here. So we see at the title it is HFS. I'm going to check inside our Msfconsole to see if we might find a vulnerability in it. Now here I can also use curl to see if I may get back some more content onto the system. Now here I can say curl then say HTTP. I'm going to provide that and provide my server. So now if we read it through, you see that here we are having Regetto, HTTP file server and 2.3. So but also when we come here, we can say search HFS and press enter. So in case we have vulnerabilities here, now you see they have brought back this, and they have also brought back this Windows Regetto HFS. So since we had Regetto when we did curl, I'm going to go with this one in position 1. So here I'm going to say use 1. You can feel free to copy that and just say use exploit Windows HTTP Regetto HFS exec. So now here, after getting to use this exploit, I have to check for the options. What can I provide to our system? So here with options, press enter. Now here they say I need to provide in our L port, our L host. Now here there is a target, and here we have to provide the target URL. Now since it was just running on our root, so it means I'll just leave the slash on our system, the port 80 and also the R host. So here we are going to set R host. So I paste my IP, let me set that, and I'm going to run this. So when I type run, and if our settings are successful, we shall be able to get a Meterpreter session. Now when we get a Meterpreter session, it means we have access to this machine. Now here you see we have a Meterpreter. I can say sysinfo. Now with sysinfo, we see how this is operating. So here we see we have Windows 64, that is the architecture, and also the name of our computer. So now since we have got access to our machine, we can do the pivoting, we can to the another machine. So now here I'm going to say, before, let me first check the IP ifconfig. You can also check the IP to be sure that this public facing server, it is connected to another network. Now here you see we have 2.951. Now let's first check here. This is our normal IP and this is the internal network. So now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to say run. Now here run auto route. So provide a -s. Now here with a -s, we can provide our IP of our internal network. So let me come and copy this victim2. Victim2 is IP, copy. So I'm going to come and paste it here. So now I'm going to change this. I'm going to provide 0/20 so that they give us multiple IPs that we can route here. So let me press enter. So we've finished to perform our route. So now here I can background this meterpreter session and try to test if our route is successful. So now here I'm going to say background, or you can press Ctrl+Z onto your keyboard to background the process. So now after backgrounding, I'm going to first check our sessions. You're going to see that here we have our meterpreter session. This is our first machine that we have hacked. I can rename this to victim1. You see here we don't have a name, so to rename our session, you're going to say sessions. Now here just type a -n. You can here provide a name. In this case it's going to be like victim1. Now here type a -i and 1 for our ID of the session. So when you type enter, our session has been renamed. So now here when I say sessions, you're going to see that we have a name of victim1. Now I've just renamed this so that in case we have another access to a session, we can identify them. So now since I performed the route, I can go on and scan our IP. So now here I'm going to use a module to scan this victim2 machine. So here I'm going to say search. Let's see, I'm looking for a port scan. It will be good. Port scan, enter. So let's hope we shall get a module for TCP. So now if you see here module 5, it is auxiliary scanner to TCP. So here I'm going to say use 5. That is our module 5 for auxiliary scanner. So here you see we've changed it to that. So now when I come to options, here they just need me to set the ports and also the R host. So here I'm going to set R host to our victim2's IP. Then I'm going to also say set ports, the number of ports that I want to scan. I'll say like 1 to 1000, it will be okay, or to 100. Let me just do 1000. So we see this is done. So I'm going to say run or exploit. So we see if we may get back some data on this second machine. So in case we find some data, we may also use that to exploit the second machine to our advantage. So now you see here we have port 80, we have 135, we also have 139. We are getting back our information, or we are scanning the services which are running on our second machine. Earlier we couldn't get access, or we couldn't find services running to that second machine. Now in case I want to access this inside my local machine, I have to perform the port forwarding. So with performing port forwarding, I have to provide a new port which is not used in my current system, where it will be able for me to scan this on my local host. So you see here we are returning our data. So now let me just give you another scenario. Let me come here, open up a new tab. Let me come to file, open up a new tab. Now inside this new tab, when I say any map, let's say I want to also scan for a service version, and I provide my IP of the target machine. We don't have any information connecting to this. Now I want to connect my machine to so that it can be scanned inside our main machine. So when we come back here, we see lots of data are being transferred back. Now here I'm going to just press Ctrl C so I can stop with this and I perform my port forwarding. So now here I'm going to go to my session 1, which is already created, which is our meterpreter sessions 1. So inside the meterpreter, this is where we are going to provide a command of port forwarding. So now here you can say port forward. Now we are going to add, here you provide a -L. Now after providing a -L, you can provide the port on which you'll be listening to. So I'm going to just give it 123. Now after providing our port, now from our victim's machine, which port do we want to forward it to our main machine or our attacker's machine? So I see here we have port 80. Let's try on port 80. So after that, we are going to say -R, and here we provide our victim's IP, that is victim 2. So if I press enter, we shall be able to perform our port forwarding. You see here it has been activated. So now to view your port forwarding, we can say port forward and we do list. So now you see that we shall be getting information from our victim 2's machine. Specifically, it will be port 80 and it will be put to our local system on port 123. I guess that is okay. So when we come back here on our second terminal, and in case I want to scan that with any map, so it means here I'm going to say any map, I'm going to get a service version. Now for a service version here, I'm going to say port 1234, which is the exact port we provided here, where I'm forwarding information for my second machine. And here I'm going to just say localhost, or you can provide your loopback address. We shall be able to get back the same services which were displayed here, even though I cancelled them. So now here, in case we find services to that second machine, we can also find vulnerabilities and we get access to our second machine. So now here you see we have bad blue 2.7. Now bad blue 2.7, we know it is vulnerable, so or we can check for the vulnerability inside our system. So I'm going to come back here now to our Metasploit. I'm going to background this with Ctrl Z, then type a Y for yes. Type a Y for yes, then we put our meterpreter inside the background. So now here I'm going to say search. Now we need to search for the exploit of bad blue. So here type, I'm going to say I'm looking for the exploit if it is present. For the name is going to be bad blue, so it was 2.7 to be specific of the version. So now you see we have bad blue pass through, so we are going to use this. I'm going to say use 0. It is in the ID of 0. So when I say use 0, you're going to see that here it has changed. So now I can say info in case I want to see how I can use or set this exploit to our use. So now here with the description, they said this module is a stack buffer overflow in the pass-through functionality. So they talk about more data here. So now I'm going to be setting the R port, which is 80. We are okay with the R host, and when we come here, we see our targets or the available targets. We have bad blue EEE 2.7 universal, and also we have the second one. Let us scroll up. We see if we may find other more data we can use to our system. So now here, since we've read through this, we are going to set our payload. So now here, what we are going to do, we are going to set a payload. Here we are going to say set payload. So we are not going to use our normal payload. This is going to be Windows interpreter. Now here it's going to be bind underscore TCP. Now this will be okay for us, so press enter. Now in case you use another payload, you might find a challenge that this won't work for you. So bind TCP, it is okay. So now here we can set our host to our victim 2 is IP, and also we can set the L port because a new interpreter will be spawned up. Previously it was running on 4444, so here I can provide 333. So enter, and our IP, let's see if we can set a target. Set target. So we had how many targets? I'm going to say bad blue. Now was it universal? Primarily this is set to a certain target, or let me just remove this. In case it fails with our attack, then I'll come back and set the target. So I'm going to say exploit. We see if our settings will help us to proceed with this attack. So let's give it a couple of minutes. In case this is successful, we shall get back a second interpreter which is listening to 33. So now what you see here, we've received back a interpreter session, and here we can say sysinfo. Now with sysinfo, you see now this computer is called attack defense, and this is Windows Server 2016 architecture. It is also a 64-bit. Now you see here we've got access to 2 machines. This is pivoting and also port forwarding. So I'm going to background this. Background. So, and I'm going to name the session 2. So before I do that, here I can just say sessions. You're going to see that we are going to have 2 sessions. We have 1 and also 2. So I'm going to rename sessions 2 to our victim 2 minus n. Now here we can call this victim 2. Now we want to rename the ID of 2. So our session has been renamed. So if we come back here and we set sessions, press enter, you are going to see that we have victim 1 and victim 2. So now here we have access to our 2 machines. One, this is a public facing server, and this is a machine in our internal network. So you can even go on and you dump services or dump hashes from this machine, or you can access the privileged account to the system. Let me just try one. Now here our purpose of pivoting, it is done. Now here I'm going to just say sessions 2, and I'm going to use a module of hash dump to see if I can dump up some hash files from the system. Now if we are able, they may give us the hash file. So now here it has failed, so let me proceed with get system. Let's see if we can get the NT authority. Now here it is memory ID. Let's check get UID. Press enter. Now if you're lucky, you see that with our command of get system, now we are NT authority. Now if I come back here and say hash dump, we shall be able to get our hashes from our users that are connected to a system. So here it has also failed. Now here you can proceed with more attacks to dump the ashes. I'll be creating videos showing you how to perform these attacks. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, give a thumbs up, and peace.